Okay, today we are going to work on expressing fractions as percents. Now we have already done this with fractions that have a denominator of 100. Today you are going to see some fractions that do not have a denominator of 100, and we're going to use models to help us with this. Okay, first problem we're going to do is this problem. So what you see is we're going to start out with this fraction 3/4 right here, and our goal is to find what percent is equivalent to 3/4. So we're trying to find 3/4 is equal to percent. Okay, that's our end goal here. Now, what I'd like you to draw on your whiteboard is this. I'd like you to draw a bar. And we're going to break that bar up into fourths. Okay? And then specifically, we're going to think about 3 pieces of those. And this whole bar is equal to 100%. So all I did there was draw the fraction and then say this bar is equal to 100%. And we are trying to figure out what 3/4 or 3 1/4 pieces is equal to. Okay? We know that 4 parts of this equal 100%. That's right here. So we go from 0 to 100. And again, we are just looking at 3 pieces. Okay? You can kind of relate this to what we did with ratios. How can we figure out the value of one piece? So we know this 4 parts equals 100. Now, what can we do to figure out what 1 part equals? What can we divide here? And we're going to start with 100% divided by, how many pieces do you see? 4. 100 divided by 4 equals 25. So this piece is 25, this piece is 25%, this piece is 25%, and this piece is 25%. Now you could either do repeated addition here, or this can lead you to this number sentence right here. So 3 parts is equal to 3 times 25. 3 times 25 is 75. Or you could add these up. 75 or 25 plus 25 plus 25 is 75. So I know that these 3 pieces together equal 75%. 75%. Okay, let's try another. So in this one, what we're going to do is we have the fraction 2/5, and we're going to eventually use this week for word problems. So will you please write this fraction on your board with me? 2/5. And then I know that this is already done for us, but let's go ahead and make our own as well. We're going to draw a whole, and we're going to break it into 5 pieces. So that means drawing 4 lines down. 1, 2, 3, 4. It doesn't matter if your fifths are not perfect. Remember, this model is just for your understanding. And then we know that this bar all together, because both fractions, decimals, and percentages can represent part of a whole, we know that one whole is equal to 100%. And we're going to be concerned about just 2/5. Okay? That's our goal, to find what percentage is equal to 2/5. Okay, now the way we can begin solving this is by asking ourselves, if this whole bar here equals 100%, how can I figure out the value of one of these pieces? Yeah, you can break up 100 by 5 or divide. So we're going to do 100 divided by 5 equals 20. So each one of these bars, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20. Okay, now I just wrote 2 of them in because we're only concerned with 2 of them. Then I can multiply the value of each piece. So if 1 part is equal to 20%, what is 2 parts equal to? Yeah, you're going to do 20 times 2 to get this product here, which is 40%. So 2/5 is equal to 40%. Okay, go to the next problem here. So this one is you have a slide just like this today. This one is you doing this, and you can choose whether you'd like to use a model or not. It is up to you, okay? You can choose whether you want to use a model or not. Up to you, okay? So the first thing that we're going to do is we are going to use equivalent fractions for this. So you can draw a model if you want to. You can break 100 into 5 pieces and find out what each one of those 1/5 pieces is equal, and then you can multiply that times 3. Or here's another way that you can use. You can use equivalent fractions to help you with this. So I'm going to start right here with this one. I'd like you to write 3/5 on your board. Do you see how we're going to go from 3/5 to an equivalent fraction with a denominator of 100? Yeah. So we can use equivalent fractions to help us here, because once we get this fraction with a denominator of 100, it will be very easy for us to translate this into a percentage. Okay, all we need to do is figure out how to get this equivalent fraction. So to do this, you're going to multiply 5 times what equals 100? 20. And so to make our equivalent fraction, to find our numerator, we have to do 3 times 20. 3 times 20 is 60. Now, once I have this 60 out of 100, or 60/100ths, that numerator translates to my percent. Remember, you can only do this with fractions that have a denominator of 100. So 3/5, I'd put right here, I'd write 60 is equal to 60%. Okay, now over here, like I said, we do not multiply fractions here, but really what you are doing when you're breaking that fraction into 5 pieces, or you're representing that fraction bar, you're finding the value of 1 and then you're multiplying times 3, you're kind of doing fraction multiplication. So if you do not want to fill this part of your slides out, you do not have to. But what this is saying right here on this side, where it says 3/5 is equal to 3/5 times 100. So when you times 3/5 times 100, here's what you're actually doing. You are taking 100% and you are breaking it into 5 pieces, and then you're finding 3 of them, which would give us our 60% anyways. Okay, let's do one more. So go ahead and erase that one off your board. Let's do 4 right here. So please do this with me. Again, you can pause this video whenever you are feeling like it. We're going to do 7/20ths. And this strategy here, we're not going to draw a bar model with 20 pieces in it and then highlight 7 and find out how many 7 are worth. We are going to use equivalent fractions to help us with this. So we are going to write our denominator of 100 in our equivalent fraction. And the reason why we can do this is because 20 and in our last problem 5 are factors of 100. You can't do this with every fraction problem, because sometimes there is nothing you can multiply, or no whole number you can multiply 20 by to get to 100. I know that 20 times 5 equals 100. I knew that because we just did that on the last problem. So to find my equivalent numerator, I have to do 7 times 5. 7 times 5 is 35. So this is the same thing that's happening if we were to draw our fraction bar and find the value of each one of those pieces, and each piece would be 5. We're counting 7 of the 20. That would be 35. 7 times 5. Now, to translate this into a percent is pretty easy. Remember, all percentages are out of 100. So all we need to do is take this numerator, and 7/20ths is equivalent to 35%. If you would like to fill in this other side, you can. It says right here, or 7. You could also have done this 7/20ths equals, and then you could have multiplied that times 100, and you would have gotten 35%. But we have not done any fraction multiplication here, so I'd rather you just kind of cross these ones off. We'll do a little teeny tiny bit of that later in the week. Okay, moving on. Now you're also going to do this with real world problems, okay? So here, we're going to do number 7, all of number 7 together. And you have a couple real world problems on your board to do, or on your work today, okay? Solve using models to help you. A bakery had 250 pounds of flour. On Monday, 120 pounds of the flour was used to make bread. The rest was used on Tuesday. What percent of the flour was used on Monday? Okay. So what we're going to do is we are going to build a model to help us with this a little bit. I think what we should do is this. We are going to break this Here's what the fraction we're going to use. We're going to find what percent 120 of 250 is equal to. So 120, 250ths. And we want to find this as a fraction. Okay? Now, this is going to be tricky. But remember when you're doing these, you do have permission to use a calculator. Okay? And so right here, this is what we're going to use to answer A. What percent of the flour was used on Monday? Okay, so we have 120 250ths. And do you see this equivalent fraction right here? We're actually going to simplify that to 12 25ths. Okay. And now we can draw a model to help us with this. Otherwise, what I'd like you to do is this. Let's turn this into an equivalent fraction with a denominator of 100. Because I see here we can do 25 times 4 equals 100, and now we can do 12 times 4. 12 times 4 is 48. Here is our percent of flour used on Monday, 48%. Okay, so 48% of the flour was used on Monday. What percent of the flour was used on Tuesday? Now, this is kind of like the problem you had yesterday about students at Northport eating lunch. You are going to take your what percent of the flour was used on Tuesday. We are going to subtract 100% minus what was used on Monday, 48%. And we will get 52% was used on Tuesday. 52%. 52%. So to find that, we did 100 minus 28. We got 52%. Okay. Let's see. I think we're going to stop there for today. We will do some more real world problems when you meet back with me tomorrow, okay? So try your very best on your practice today.